Hello and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable series. And as ever, I have another amazing guest for you. Would you like to introduce yourself, my darling?
Sure. My name's Jyoti, and I'm the founder of a training school called Special Yoga, which provides yoga as a therapeutic intervention with lots of love and care for children, for special children and adults.
Wow, amazing. And I can't wait to find out more because I am quite intrigued, actually. So anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Julie Fitzpatrick, the founder of Millieside Therapy and Coaching, and I help stressed out individuals to build their confidence so that they can become unstoppable. And actually, I move everybody who works with me from being stuck to unstoppable. And I work with a subconscious mind and conscious coaching, so you get the best of both worlds when you come and work with me. Anyway, without further ado, Jyoti, can you tell me, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Well, for me personally, unstoppable, I think I was really blessed because I found my passion and my purpose when I was quite young. And so when you find your passion and purpose, you can't stop. I mean, you literally can't stop. And so every time you have a hurdle, you have to look at it as like a learning curve and a blessing in a way, and find a way through it, because there's always better on the other side. So you just keep going until, I mean, there is no end really, is there? When you have passion.
No, that's lovely. I love that. And that is so true, because I feel like I found my purpose and passion now. I mean, sure, there's some stuff in this business world that you don't always want to do, or the challenges that come with it. But fundamentally, I love what I do. And it is a bit of a blessing and a curse, though, because it's difficult to sometimes switch off, isn't it? Because you don't see it as a job. And then sometimes you can look back and go, oh, probably worked a little bit too much last week. I don't know if you
very well.
Yeah, and you're like, but because when you're in a job, like I spent 35 years in the corporate world, so trust me when I say this, it's like every minute you're there, you're like, kind of a little, not every minute, that's a lie, but you're kind of a little bit resentful, because it's like that's sucking your time, but they are paying you for it. Whereas sometimes we can be using our time now, can't you? But not always necessarily being paid enough for.
That's for sure. I'm sure running your own business is actually hard to get paid. I'm sure the people that work with me get paid more than I do per hour. But you're just there all the time. It's part of your, just part of your, I don't know, just being really. And I think also for me, even when I'm not technically working, I'm still, my mind's still going, and also I'm taking care of myself. And the more I take care of myself, the more better I am to be of service to everybody else anyway. So you're kind of doing it all the time anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's one of the biggest things I teach my clients now. My whole group program is literally about that, about putting yourself first, because most of us don't. And if you don't, and you don't look after yourself, as you will well know, then it impacts you. The physical and psychological conditions, that's when they all start. And the sooner people can understand that, and that the mind and body is totally connected, because I didn't really get that. I used to hear that when I say when I was younger, but even as far as a few years ago, but mind body connection. But I didn't really understand what that really, really meant. I do now, because I'm on my spiritual journey. I've still got a long way to go, but I didn't get it. And it's only doing the work that I do with my clients now, when we are freeing them from trapped feelings, emotions, and limiting beliefs, that now I understand. Now, you mentioned earlier that you found your purpose and passion when you were younger. So do you want to just give us a bit of a backdrop on your story then? So what are you doing now, and how did you end up doing that? What's your journey?
So now I have a training school that's predominantly online, but we do some in-person bits here and there, just post-COVID, just coming back in person. Which is teaching people how to be the best versions of themselves. So it could be a parent, could be an educator, could be a therapist, could be pediatric professionals, who are anybody that's kind of in the world of supporting children with special and additional needs, or adults actually as well. Be the best versions of themselves, and also have tools that they can then use for the kids. And people hear the word yoga and they think about pretzel shapes and being but actually yoga's not about that. Yoga's really about the mind and connecting yourself and being able to be regulated and calm, and to know who you are, and to, you know, almost get out your own way at some level. And I think that for, you know, educators in schools now, it's a highly stressful environment. Parents are, you know, especially with children with special needs who require support in whatever ways, very stressful lives. And what I know is that if you take care of yourself, you know, you are then in a better place to be able to be with your child, and to support your child, and to fight the battles that you have to fight, actually, as well.
100%. So are you actually teaching them, still actually teaching them yoga, but obviously in a little bit more detail, in a different way that other potential yoga instructors would?
So we use movement, we use breath, we use sound, we use lots of different kind of massage techniques, you know, that range from a little bit of Indian head massage to a little bit of Tuina, you know, a little bit of reflexology, a little bit of, which we call foot massage, because it's not real full-on reflexology. But, you know, you just take little bits from all the different schools of practice that I've studied in, and you put it together and you piece the bits that seem to be the most useful for the children. And that's what we share with you. So you end up with this massive toolbox. So every child can be reached, whether they've got voluntary movement, don't have voluntary movement, whether they're flying off the ceiling, whether they're laying on the floor. I mean, it doesn't matter where they are, you know. You'll have tools to support any of them. And then, you know, yeah, so that's what I do now.
So what's your journey then? How did you end up doing that? What made you, what was your purpose of action?
Well, I don't really know. I started practicing yoga when I was 17, which was a very, very long time ago. And it was when I first stepped in, yoga wasn't popular. We were talking in the 70s. And so yoga wasn't popular in those days like it is now. And it was an extraordinary moment of like, oh my goodness, this is the path that will help me heal from my own childhood, because I come from some level of challenge and abuse from home. And it was just an extraordinary moment, but it was a very sensory moment. It was very connected. It wasn't about, I don't remember the physical practice, actually. They were all dressed in white. They were all chanting. There was incense burning. I'm like, oh, God, I feel like I'm home, you know. And I loved it. And then a few years later, 2 or 3 years later, I had moved myself to New York, walked past literally a neon sign that said yoga, walked in, and there's this teacher there saying, use your body as a vehicle of prayer. And I'm like, I'm home. That's it. I'm home. So I studied with him for years, and he then said, go and teach, because it was before the days of teacher training programs, you know. And it was very much passed down from, and it never occurred to me that that's what I would do. I was in the film business. I was doing all sorts of other things, and, you know, professionally. And then I thought, oh, okay, you know, so, you know, there's uncomfortable moments of, you know, and then I came back to the UK, started teaching, and within like literally a matter of weeks, somebody with cerebral palsy showed up, you know, a blind man and his dog showed up, and some woman in the class didn't like dogs, and, you know, I mean, so everything had to change in terms of how I delivered. Because, you know, when you learn yoga, you're given class plans and you're given structure. You can't work like that when you've got different abilities and different people in you. So you start to learn to be really present and have to really adapt and be flexible and fluid around, okay, so what are your needs? And what do I need to do to really listen to you? Not listen to the blah, 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 but listen to your body and listen to your energy. So I know what you need. And then a head teacher asked me to go into a school. It was a very deprived part of London, and all these twitchy kids, you know, like
we're probably all like that now.
I mean, but honestly, it was like me, you know, it was like, oh my God, I know that feeling. I know that feeling of not wanting to be in your body. I know that feeling of like not being able to sit still and concentrate. And I thought, okay, so I can just share with them what helped me. And within a half an hour, all these kids have settled, and the teachers are all looking at me like, who are you? What have you just done? You know? And my path just took me from there, really. It wasn't particularly a plan. And then I guess I was one of the pioneers of children's yoga in the UK, because I think I ran the first training program that had existed in this country. And it just kind of evolved from there. And then I ended up opening a studio in London, which I had for about, don't know, 15, 16, 17 years, maybe something. I can't remember how many years, but a long time, which was originally a charity, then not a charity, then a charity, then not a charity, and now we're not a charity. But it was, we used to serve, you know, in its heyday, we were seeing 150 kids a week there. We were outreaching into schools all over the place. I mean, it was amazing. You know, we brought groups of parents together to, you know, support networks. I mean, it was beautiful. It was really beautiful what happened there in that space.
So how did that change then?
Well, life changes, you know, things happen, and, you know, business changes, and, you know, life changes, and we you know, it shifted. It shifted. And then we didn't have the space anymore, and, you know, my backers didn't want to be paying some silly amount of money for London rents, and, you know, all of those things that, you know.
Yeah. The cards started to collapse, and
yeah. So so it was just how it evolved, really. And then we kind of said, okay, so what are the key things that we do that are going to, you know, at one point I was seeing, I don't know, 60, 70 kids myself a week. And then I thought to myself, I love this. I mean, I loved every second of it, loved every child I ever worked with. But I realized I couldn't grow it. You know, I couldn't, you know, it was only ever going to be limited to how many children I could see. So we need to train more people. We need to get more people doing this work, because really my passion is to get this out to the world because it's so important.
Love it.
You know, to help get children, you know, to help get children into the place where they're as healthy as they can be, they're as regulated as they can be, they can thrive, you know.
Absolutely. And I think it's needed more now than ever, isn't it? Because most adults that I've met, most of them have got kids that are diagnosed with either ADHD or hyper or something, and it's it makes me worry, really, because I'm like, is it that all of a sudden everybody's got this change going on, or is it environmental? Is it because as parents of parents of parents, we're just gradually building up on this level of hyperactivity and not taking time out and not looking after ourselves, and as a result of that, it's just blown up in our faces? What do you think? Because you've obviously been involved in this a long time.
Well, I don't really know. You know, diagnosis is now, you know, everybody's being diagnosed or self-diagnosing anyway. So I don't really know. But I do, having also done quite a lot of very trauma work, you know, with traumatized kids, because I work also with an organization that provides war therapy in the war zones. So we've done some work in the Ukraine, train up psychologists to work with the kids and stuff like that, using more of their breath body practices. So, you know, I've seen that a lot of the symptomology of trauma is actually the same, could present similar to the symptomology of autism, or ADHD. So, you know, it's hard to know whether all of these diagnoses are actually correct or not. I'm sure there's an environmental issue. I'm sure that the world, which is very dysregulated and very anxious at the moment, is not helping. Because we're all disconnected. You know, as soon as you get into that state, you're disconnected from your body, you're disconnected from yourself, really, because you're just in that heightened state.
Yeah, and that's what I believe as well. I think everyone's in, not everyone, can't put everyone in a category, but majority of people are in that constant stress, anxiety kind of vibe, aren't they? And our bodies can't sustain that. You can have, it's good to have a little bit of that, right? Because that's when it gives us the kick up the backside to get something done, and the excitement and the fun. But you can't have continuous stress and anxiety, because it's going to make you, I mean, it is one of the biggest killers, stress, isn't it? And it can't carry on like that. And until people start making fundamental changes in their lives, nothing's going to change. And that's where I've kind of changed my niche to now. It's like helping people understand that, because it does cause dis-ease in the body, doesn't it? Stress. So we need to be aware of it.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important. It's fantastic that you're doing that, you know. And I also think that for the future generations, your children learn from what they see. You know, you can tell a child breathe, but if you're not breathing, they're not going to breathe, you know. And, you know, so if we have to be the models for the future generations, which means a kind of shift in taking care of yourself, teaching children how to do that because you're doing it, because you're showing them how to do it.
Yes.
Not because you're trying to tell them what to do and then you go and do something different. Kids don't learn that way.
And it's funny you say that, because the problem is a lot of healers, right, or coaches, therapists, probably in your environment too, we're all very good at telling other people what to do, right? And then you take a look at yourself and you're like, Now, I've definitely been guilty of this in the past, not so much now, but definitely in the past, because it's easy, isn't it? You go to a hospital, see a doctor's, or they go, oh yeah, I'm sorry, madam, but you're very overweight. And you're like, sorry, have you looked in the mirror? Or you shouldn't be smoking, and they're out there with their fat. Do you know what I mean? It's so easy to do as I do, but not do as I say, isn't it? So, was that the wrong way around? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't.
I always get a picture of the wrong way. But you can't preach this stuff and not do it yourself. That is key.
Well, I think you have to be authentic in the world, and if you're not doing it, you teach it. You can't, because you're not. I don't know. I don't think people buy it from you anyway.
No, this is true. Yeah, because you're not necessarily, as you say, coming along authentically. And actually, we've all got our own story. We've all got our own origin story, haven't we, about how we ended up doing what we're doing. And my origin story is about how I ended up doing what I'm doing. Now, 35 years in the corporate world, a few years later, being on this journey that I never knew I was going to go on, didn't even know I wanted to go on it, if I'm honest. I had no idea where it was going to take me. But once I uncovered my limiting beliefs that were holding me back, I started saying yes to things, and my confidence grew and grew. I never knew that. I never even wanted to be a business owner, if I'm honest. It wasn't something that ever crossed my mind. But in 2020, when I got made redundant, it was an opportunity to do something different. I did go back to work, but I was building, and that's when I come across the business coaching, and then I retrained myself from a personal level as well. And then the whole world just started opening. And that's what I love about it. And sometimes I look back, I just laugh at myself, and I think to myself, why are you laughing? And I just think, I just don't recognize me either, it's in a good way. But once you start investing in yourself and you do put yourself first, I know not everybody can invest heavily in themselves. I appreciate that. But everyone can breathe properly, can't they? Everyone can take some time out for themselves to be present and start taking action and taking responsibility. Because I think a lot of people, especially a lot of my clients, when they start working with me, they're a bit reluctant to take action. And you want things to happen, but guess what? You can manifest all you like, but if you're not doing it and thinking it and everything, it doesn't work, does it? You can't just say, I want £1 million and it just turns up. That's not quite how it works.
No, it definitely doesn't work like that. I mean, that's the whole weird thing about manifestation anyway. It's like, oh, I want all these wonderful things, but are you in the right place to receive it? Are you really believing you're worthy of it? There's all that stuff, isn't there, that goes along with it, which of course, from mindset training, right?
Yeah. And also, when you work with the subconscious mind, which is 95% of our whole body, if that doesn't agree with your 5% conscious brain, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm really amazing. But no, you're not. You've got that whole 90% pulling you back down. And until they align, you're going to struggle to be unstoppable and be whatever it is you think you want to be. So
Absolutely.
as a business owner, and you've obviously been in business for a long time and had huge success, what would you say would be one or two of the things that have been the most challenging for you that you've had to overcome?
Well, I think in the world that I inhabit, when I first set up the studio, I wanted to make yoga available to everybody, and I wanted to be able to offer it to free to everybody, and I was like, that's
I know where you're going with this.
So that was probably one of my biggest challenges, was actually having to kind of really think about how to do this in a way that was appropriate. And then, of course, I realized that when you give things away, people don't value them. Actually,
Yes.
They really don't. So the people that had less money were literally standing in front of us, emptying their purses, and the people that had money were coming in, with their Chanel sunglasses on, with their Jeeps outside, going, "Oh, a bit short of cash this week." And you're just like, "Did you lug your kid up, with cerebral palsy up 5 flights of stairs in a council flat?"
Exactly.
But I did find that challenging, to be honest, because it was the kids that suffered if the parents didn't want to play, and I was like, oh, that was very hard on my heart. So, just finding that balance between, service, being able to be of service, and to earn, that was I don't find it challenging now, but I did at the beginning, because I just wanted to give everything away all the time.
Yeah, I've suffered from that too, but a lot of that is our own limiting beliefs, isn't it? About not valuing ourselves, and just because you do something that's nice and you love it and it helps people, doesn't mean we don't deserve money in abundance either, does it? Because if we've got money in abundance, then we can carry on investing in ourselves, finding out new stuff, you might have this massive vision about changing the world, but if you haven't got any money, it ain't gonna happen, is it?
No, I really understand that.
Yeah,
I
really need to. Sorry, go on. It's a bit delayed. This, sorry.
It's such an interesting subject, because money is such a difficult, it is such a charged thing for so many people, because it's so tied up with your own self-value and your self-worth, and can I, and all of that stuff. But actually, you can't do very much without it.
No, you can't, and that is sad, because you basically can't. I'm writing a book at the moment, and I've got someone helping me with it, but when that comes out, I've still got to get it published. I don't, you still got to fund that, haven't you? And find out how you're going to do that. And it's everything. Yeah. I mean, I've invested hugely in myself for my personal development and business training. I don't regret any of it. I love the fact that I've done that, but some of it I still owe. So I still need to be earning money in abundance to clear all that before I can even go off and live my lovely, happy, abundant life, wearing my Thailand dress that I probably would go out in public with. I just realised I'm wearing it on this interview. But it's about having that freedom, isn't it? To be able to travel, to run a business from a different location. Although saying that, I was only half an hour up the road the other day trying to run one of my training courses, and the internet was completely pants and it was disastrous. And it's like, so much for being able to do your business anywhere around the world, and you can't even go fucking a few miles up the road for it not to be working. But that's the idea, right? Isn't it? It's about giving yourself the passion, doing a job that you love, helping people, but still being able to live the life that we want to live.
Totally. I get frustrated because I get calls from, Cambodia and Ethiopia, and I've done quite a lot of work in Sri Lanka. And at the moment, I can't go and help them because I haven't got the funding to do that. So, so it's kind of, getting into the place where, you can allocate a certain amount of time to go and work for free, once a year or something, with your, but so you got to find ways of earning to support that.
Exactly right. Actually, you could, if I had a magic wand right now, right, and you could make one wish, what would it be?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure really.
It's a good question, isn't it?
It's a very good question. I think there's a few things.
Well, you can have more than one thing. Go on, I'll let you. As I put you on the spot.
Well, one would definitely be, I mean, I'm kind of reworking our training school. I've trained up a lot of trainers, so there's a lot of stuff now other people can do, and then I'm free to go and speak publicly because I've got a lot to say, or which I want to do, and I can go once a year or twice a year to somewhere where they really have no whatsoever, and go and help those kids, and go and train locally, because that's what I really love to do. It's one of my favorite things to do. I've done quite a lot over the years, and I just like yearning to get my hands back on those kinds of kids again and show parents, techniques and tools that they can use.
Yeah, I love that. I love your passion. And I think speaking is such a lovely way to spend some time, even doing these, right? I mean, who gets to do this, right? Apart from other people who do this, obviously. But like this morning, I've done a one-to-one session with a client, and fantastic transformational results. And then coming on here speaking with you. I mean, what a way to spend your day, right?
And that's very cool.
Don't get me wrong. I've got some really boring stuff that I need to do afterwards. But what a great morning. Great day. I don't ever remember saying that when I was in the corporate world.
I know. No. I mean, working for yourself definitely, gives you a certain level of freedom,
And and I love doing the interviews because it's just another way to meet people, let you get your message across as well, and just share stories. And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? And most of us have got a story. It doesn't really matter how old you are, but it's about what's your story and what did you do to overcome it? So what ups and downs do you have in your life? Because everyone has them, don't they? And it's
oh my goodness,
knowing that if you come across something, you don't have to give up. There's always a solution. And one way that I've been learning over the last few years really is the best way to find the solution is to find it from within, right? Because you always know the answers. But the problem is when we are not present and we're in this heightened stress state and we're like, oh, too busy. I always say, I'm too busy being busy, too busy to look after myself. And your brain just can't deal with it, can it? Because it's like, I almost imagine a picture of it just being swirly, like a big cloud of swirl. But then you're not going to find the answers, are you? The only way you're going to find the answers is if you just stop and you breathe.
Learn to be quiet and listen.
Yeah,
that's one of the skills we teach a lot at Special Yoga is learning how to do that, because the kids are presenting in behaviours that aren't necessarily indicative of what their inner experience is.
So what would you typically show them then? Would you do breathing? Do you do things of like really tapping into their body to get them to do yes and no's and all that kind of thing?
Well, with the children, no. I mean, I think you can learn to read their. It's so interesting because 80% of communication is nonverbal. So we communicate through our eyes, we communicate through our breath, we communicate through our facial expression, we can communicate through touch, you communicate through your thoughts, through your heart, right? So really there with the kids, you don't need to do yes or no because they're telling you.
So you teach them how to breathe properly. What sort of, I mean, there's lots of different breathing techniques, isn't there? But what ones do you like the most?
Well, the practice that we use the most to help co-regulation. So when the adult breathes better, the child breathes better, is something called coherent breathing, which
That's
is
what I use.
Oh, there you go. I think it's the optimum practice for co-regulation. I'm absolutely sure. Over years and years and years of doing all sorts of breath work. And, there is breath work that helps to, bring, a sluggish system, wake it up. And there's, of other practices that you can do, for different kind of balancing and, longer exhalation for real stress where you really need to kind of, get into the calm, the calmer state. But I think coherent breathing is fantastic for co-regulation.
Yeah. And just so, do you want to just tell people how they do that? I mean, I've got my way, but I'd love to hear yours because that's your thing.
So the way that we do it is we use different sounds well, first of all, you need to kind of shake out or tap or do some physical movement that helps to release the stagnant energy that becomes stress in your body, because it's for most people, you can't just sit and concentrate on your breathing without having moved it out of your kind of physical body at some level.
Change your state, you mean? Yeah. Yeah.
We start there, and then when people have kind of felt like, now I can feel my body again, now I can almost like I can breathe again, now we can start to work with you. So we invite people to either sit or lie down, and we use sounds that would be the breath in and the breath out markers, so that you don't have to think it. And there's lots of there's floating sounds in and floating sounds out, there's one end or the other, all sorts of things that people can use, and you find what works for you. And then we do different guides through the body if people are struggling with it, to just feel light moving through the body, to clear, again, stagnant energy, take the mind somewhere else. And eventually what happens is people, you know, can drop into it and calm. But sometimes if you're in very, very high levels of stress, it comes out and it can feel quite uncomfortable. And that's kind of holding and supporting.
Yeah. So do you pretty much get them to count for 6 in and out for the nose?
Sounds. We don't get anybody counting anything.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, because I think I know what you're talking about with the sounds, because I've got an app for that. But you can go on YouTube and it'll go. Yeah, it sort of donks, doesn't it, when you?
Yeah.
I
See,
think that
if you're counting it, you're in your mind. You know, what we want to get people is out of their minds and into their bodies. So that's why we choose not to use the counting.
Okay.
And then in another way, it's a way of keeping the mind focused. But
yeah, exactly. Because while you're counting, you're not thinking of anything else, are you?
You can relax more if you're not having to put the mind anywhere.
Okay.
Just feel the breath. So you go into the feeling body rather than the thinking body.
And this is so important, isn't it? And it really does change the physiology of your body, doesn't it? When you're in that heightened state, is to kick in that breathing, and then you can feel your body pretty much instantly calming. Do you do other techniques like havening and things like that?
What was that? Like what?
Havening.
Haven. I don't know what havening is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I won't go into it now because there's a whole different ones, but a lot of it's to do with like stroking and touch.
We do a lot of self-squeezing. We do a lot of tapping. So we use
yeah. You probably do it, but just call it something else.
Yeah, I don't use EFT tapping. I use a tapping sequence through the body that actually works on all of the major meridians and energy lines.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I mean, some people this will be completely alien to, right? And it would have been me a few years ago. But it just proves, doesn't it, that, you know, as you do things in life, you'll come across people, and people will come across you. They might come across me. They'll come across other people. But just be open to it, isn't it? Understand that none of us know everything, and there will be something out there for us that we can resonate with.
I mean, the other thing is you know, things like that have been used for millennium. You know what I mean? These are all based on really ancient practice. So this isn't something that's just been made up. You know, the sort of woo-woo. Not that at all. It's all based in real solid science, actually.
Yeah. And I think people won't believe stuff. A lot of people won't, will they, if it's not scientifically proven? And thankfully, like you said, this has gone on for way back. But now science is officially catching up with a lot of it, isn't it? And documenting it. And then people go, oh, that's okay then. I believe it now.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, over the years, people have, you know, probably thought I'm completely nuts and, you know, some kind of witch or something. But, you know, it's everything I've ever done is based on ancient wisdom.
I love that. Yeah.
Nobody made it up now, you know, it's just been brought back into our memories that it exists and that we can use it and play with it and make, you know, get the benefits of it.
Yeah, I agree. When you was a child, when you was a child, right, do you remember ever having, like, being gifted then, or having like special powers, if you like?
I don't know that I thought I had special powers. I certainly had a conversation going on with something greater than me.
Really? And did you find that frightening as a child, or good, that you found that good?
For me, it was reassuring.
Because there's a lot in it, isn't there? When, I don't know if kids still do it now. I don't know if they play in enough to use their imagination enough now. But when we used to have imaginary friends, actually, some of them would have been like spiritual friends, wouldn't they?
I imagine so. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know. No,
I think there's a lot of really interesting kids coming in today who have, you know, who have a lot of powers that probably even greater than ours, you know, that you know, are brought here to teach us. Yeah, I truly
Do you
believe
think?
that.
Yeah, I'm saying, do you think? I would believe that. Yeah.
So many of the kids, we would call special needs children who are discarded because they can't do this and they can't do that. They have pathways to, to connection to something greater than us, much greater than anybody I've ever seen.
That's very true. And that's the thing. I think we spend, well, not us, but people spend too much time putting square pegs in a round hole, don't they? And there's nothing wrong with these children. They just don't fit into the way of learning that has not changed for decades.
But, I often think to myself, wouldn't it be extraordinary if we could see the world through their eyes? What would we see, but we don't because we're trying to fix them into our space rather than seeing, entering into theirs,
and giving them negative labels.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're just naughty and you just can't concentrate. And, and I think what I find frustrating is when we were kids, I guess it's even, maybe it's worse now in schools, right? But if you were a daydreamer, you'd have that drummed out. Stop daydreaming, pay attention. But actually, that's what we should be doing more of, isn't it? Our imagination is the most powerful tool that we possess, right? Yet we kind of have it drummed into us from a young age to stop using it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Let kids be free. Let them imagine. And there's nothing more lovely to watch, to see kids play, isn't it? I mean, you probably get to see it a lot more than I do. But when you just see them and they're away from their tech, they're away from all those other distractions, and they are just being a kid using their imagination, it's really fun to watch them, isn't it? When they become these superheroes and sit in a box and it's a rocket or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've lost a lot of that, but it's even the children who theoretically are disabled, what might be labeled as disabled in any way, shape or form, they're extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, and it's great that people like you can help them as much as you can, and I really want you to be able to do what you want to do and have your dreams, because what you do is amazing, and I'm glad that you're following your passion and you've had that opportunity to do that for a long time. And
anything else.
Yeah, I can't imagine you being stuck in an office 9 to 5 somehow.
I've never have been. Well, not since I was 19, actually.
And I don't believe in regrets, and I think we're all here doing what we're doing, at that right time. But if I was allowed to have a regret, it would be that I didn't know and understand this stuff
earlier.
Yeah, that saddens me a little bit, but we are where we are what we are. But I just think if you're younger,
do it in our right time. We all come to,
exactly. And someone said to me the other day that, because we're in my therapy training, we're still doing a lot of work and we're going deeper and deeper now. And I was like, well, what if it takes me somewhere I don't want to go? And they said, but it won't, because if you don't want to go in that direction, then it won't take you. It'll only take you in a direction that it thinks you can cope with. Would you agree with that?
Totally. I have a belief that we're guided, and that, everything that presents itself to us is correct for us, however hard it might be. And we're only presented with what we can cope with, even if we don't think.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and I won't go into it now, but the story of my Luther passing last year and how he's helped me on my spiritual journey. He's come to visit me before when I was at yoga, funny enough. And then more recently, a couple of weeks ago, I was at a networking event, and I was doing a little bit of a talk actually, and I mentioned it because it's, like I said, it's all part of my story. It's all part of the book that's coming out, right? But she said to me, "Oh yeah, I can feel him. He's one of your spirit guides."
Oh, isn't that lovely?
And I obviously burst into tears. Of course I did. But and I knew that in a way because he hasn't left me, and he was part of my therapy journey, really, because he decided that he was coming to, when I had face-to-faces, if I was in the room here, he'd be on the floor with me in here. But when people came to me, he decided that he was coming and he used to get up, and he was a Great Dane, so he was pretty big, and he would go up close to them, or he was never a licker, but he could sense. They can't they? They can sense. They're amazing, dogs and other animals as well, actually. And that forms part of the book as well, actually, because I've got stories from other people in it. But yeah, to know that I know even earlier on he was just like tuckling behind you. You probably couldn't see he was having a right good time. But yeah, they are so powerful, and you know, a lot of it is about the grief of it, because it floored me. And mostly I can talk about crying now, but not much. But some people would think, "I'll get over yourself. It's just a dog," but it's not, is it? Who knows? I mean, it's probably a story for another day, isn't it? When we talk about the spirits and how they come back in different forms. But you know, I feel really blessed that he was in our lives as a family, and I feel really blessed that he helped me and is helping me now on my spiritual journey. Don't get me wrong. Would I rather have him here and delayed my spiritual journey? Yes, of course I would. But it is what it is, right? He was here for however long he was here for.
Yeah.
So anyway, my lovely, thank you so much for a lovely, lovely conversation. And we could talk about us. And I will get you back on to do some other, because I've got some other stuff up my sleeve. So I'd like to get you on to do something else as well. But before we go, would you like to give a shout out on your business and if you've got anything coming up? And we will obviously tag you in all the social medias and stuff so people can get hold of you. But
so I would say if you're a parent or an educator or a therapist, or have a kind of sense that you want to work with these kinds of kids, our trainings are starting again in September, October time. Bookings are taking place now. You can find us on our website, specialyoga.co.uk. And yeah, come and join us. They're really nourishing for you as well as for the kids. So
just to be clear on that then. So the people that you're trying to train, I shouldn't use the word try, the people you're training, they are therapists?
So our population of people that seem to join us on our trainings are parents of children, of special children, educators, therapists, pediatric professionals, so occupational therapists, physiotherapists, speech and language pathologists, psychotherapists, social workers, you know, all of that kind of domain. Anybody that has, you know, deals with those kinds of
problems. Okay, so anyone who works with them or comes into contact with them or lives with them, or
exactly. And then yoga teachers who want to work in that in that field.
Amazing. I mean, that sounds so brilliant. And
that you don't need to practice yoga or even know any yoga to join us, because we start you back at basics.
Nice.
And there's no pretzels. There's no pretzels in our school.
That's brilliant. I absolutely love that. And because it's online, obviously you can have anyone from anywhere, can't you?
Yeah. And it's lovely because you get lots of wisdom from different places all coming together. So it's, there's a lot of learning, peer learning as well, that takes place on our courses.
Yeah. And I think being part of communities is so important as well, isn't it? Because you're with like-minded people, the same way we met in business training. I've got my therapy group training as well. I've got lots of different pockets of communities, and I've tried to create that myself as well, because I'm in my pilot version of my group program at the moment, and that's what I want to create as well, to have all the education in there, but it's also got hypnosis in it, it's got audios in it, it's got exercises to do, but it's also about being part of that community, being and sharing your wins and your down times and what you struggled with, because you can help each other, and you learn from other people talking as well, don't you? If you've got someone else on your training, for example, saying, oh, I really struggled with this, or how do I do this? You know that there's probably someone else who's listening who didn't have the courage to ask the question, but really wanted to know the answer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we also have an app which is free to join, which is under Mighty Networks, Special Yoga. So you can just go onto Mighty Networks. If you download Mighty Networks and go look for Special Yoga, you can join our community. You can also join our community through our website as well. So
amazing.
And we've got, 1,000+ people on the app.
Amazing. Yeah, I've got a Mighty app actually. I've got a couple of training things on there.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. And so, as I said, we'll put your details up anyway. And this, like all my other videos, will go up on my YouTube channel, which is Millieside Therapy and Coaching, and it will be out on Spotify, etc., in the near future. And if anyone's got an unstoppable story and you'd like to be one of my guests, please get in contact with me, because I'm always looking for new guests to interview. But also, if you're looking for a therapist and a coach who you really want to delve into your subconscious mind and find out what's keeping you stuck, and helping you to build that presence, to my group programs all about getting people back to basics, helping them understand the power of the mind, teaching you tools and techniques, embodiment techniques, so that you can start being present and living your best life, so that your friends and family get the best of you, not what's left of you. So on that note, thank you so much, my lovely. It's been so much fun talking to you.
Chatting to you.
And I look forward to doing some more work with you in the future, my love. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.